Good morning to everyone, I'm Matthew and you're watching Top Secret. Today I have an extremely special guest with me, the one and only Alex Ryder from MI6. Alex, thank you so much for accepting our invitation. Welcome to the studio. Good morning. MI6 put you in action at an extremely young age, 14, just after your uncle Ian had died. How was news broken to you? Who told you and when? I first heard it on the night of the incident. As a matter of fact, I can remember the exact time. It was 3:02 a.m. A police car arrived at our house. It was Jack who opened the door, and I didn't hear the conversation, but I could make out a few words. I didn't even need to hear what they said, actually. You could just, the way the officers just stood in the doorway in that awkward fashion with their hats off. The tone in which they spoke. Funeral voices, that's probably the best way I can describe it, yeah. What did you think about Ian in general? Were there any signs that he had a secret second life, to put it that way? Well, the strangest thing was always the way he talked about his job. He said he was a banker and passed off his worldwide travels as business trips and bank stuff, but it was never completely believable. Of course, I didn't doubt anything because he was able to take care of me and Jack and make a living, But when he came back home with strange cuts and bruises, sometimes even with a broken arm, I felt something was off. To kind of join this answer with the last one, when I heard about his accident, I had the same strange feeling that it wasn't true. Apparently, a lorry hit him in a roundabout and he wasn't wearing his seatbelt, but I knew that couldn't have been true because he wouldn't drive me to the end of our street without making me put mine on. So, yeah. And now that I'm thinking about it, there's one more thing. During last year's winter holidays, we went to a ski resort in Gunpoint, Colorado. There was some strange business with a government man and his laptop with precious info on it, and some guys really wanted to steal it. It's not that important, it's just that the signs on that holiday were really clear. I just didn't know how to look for them. Let's shift the focus towards your first assignment. Do you think Ian was preparing you the whole time for this? To take his place one day? Oh, certainly. For once, I speak German, French, and Japanese fluently. Ian took me to karate lessons when I was 6, and I've been doing that ever since. I also go to the gym twice a week, that's also something he insisted on. On various holidays, I learned how to ski, snowboard, surf. He taught me how to drive a car. I went to shooting lessons. The list goes on. I'm sure the answer to this question is obvious, but did you get any training with MI6? Also, were you equipped with any gadgets, like in the Bond movies? Yes, of course, I was sent to Brecon Beacons for an 11-day training by the SAS. As for the gadgets, you'll probably be surprised, but I actually got some. None of them were lethal though, because apparently I wasn't allowed to have any. Sending me into mortal danger without any weapons, wouldn't you call that smart, huh? You'd probably be interested in the gadgets, so I'll list them for you. I got a yo-yo with a reinforced nylon string that can lift up to 100 kilograms. Then there was a skin cream which actually ate through metal. And finally a Nintendo DS. You couldn't play games on this one though. There were 4 cartridges for it. One for it to work as a photocopier, one that operated as an X-ray device, the third was a bug finder, and finally the 4th one turned it into a smoke bomb. So, pretty nice collection in the end, I'd say. How were you feeling before the mission really started, waiting to arrive at Sales Plant? Were you excited, anxious, or maybe just logged in? To be honest, I didn't really think about anything. I asked for some music first just to, play my character, but the drive was pretty long, like multiple hours, so I soon fell asleep. That's that. What would you say was the most heart-pounding part of your mission? Yeah, one of the scariest parts of the mission where I really wished I hadn't heard of the whole thing was going through an old mine to reach Sale's secret assembly chamber. This was an underground expansion of the Sail Enterprise complex that they used to put the virus into the computers. I bought a jersey, a torch, a box of chalk, and a length of rope in the village. And after that I found the old mine's entrance and descended. Old mine? You mean one of the tin mines that once belonged to the Dawsbury family? Yes, the mine shaft I went through was part of the old Dawsbury tin mines. I followed a route that was previously traced by Ian, so luckily I knew which way to go. One part of the shaft was actually flooded, and I had nothing but the length of rope and a wetsuit I found at the entrance. There was nothing I could do. I had to try to get through. That was the only option I had. It was hell. The freezing cold water was sapping my energy away. I couldn't see anything in the dark. I had no indication of how long the submerged part is going to be. Like, it could have gone for 5 meters or 500. As far as I knew, Ian could have used scuba equipment, so yeah, it was an absolute nightmare. In the end, I did make it out with probably seconds to spare, but I wouldn't be able to do that again, that's 100% sure. Luckily, the ventilation shafts were only a few steps from there, but absolute hell. How were you able to enter the Science Museum with a parachute? What was the flow of events that led to you being in the air? Well, that flow of events was actually really complicated. It started not much after I was able to get into the secret assembly chamber. Someone sounded the alarm and I even almost got shot. I was able to get out safely, and I even reached my room to contact MI6. Unfortunately, I got knocked out before I was able to use my Nintendo though. When I woke up, I was sitting handcuffed in Sale's private office with two of his assistants. They questioned me. Fortunately, I wasn't harmed. And Sale also told me his honestly horrid plan. He was going to put deadly doses of virus, don't think computer virus, this was an even worse version of smallpox, into the computers, so that millions of British school children would die. After this, I was left alone. Sale obviously left to the system launch ceremony in the Science Museum. A short while later, one of his assistants came back and freed me. She said she also worked with MI6 and that she was going to give me a phone that so that I could contact them, but she lured me into the trap instead. You see, Sale had a massive aquarium in his office with a big jellyfish inside. When I say big, think like 10 meters in length. Obviously, its tentacles contain deadly stinging cells. The corridor I was being led through went right above this aquarium and had a trapdoor built inside of it. When I stepped on the trapdoor, it obviously opened under me, and yeah, there I was, in a big water tank with a deadly jellyfish next to me. I'm gonna be honest with you, I was pretty scared in there. And suddenly I remembered the skin cream. The whole aquarium was held in place by a large metal frame, and I used the whole tube on it. Luckily it did work underwater, and I was able to get out unharmed. By the jellyfish at least. Before leaving the office, I grabbed a harpoon gun from one of the shelves. At this point, I only had about an hour to get to London to stop the computer launch myself. There was nothing else I could do. Or anybody could do. I couldn't contact anyone. Part of Sale's complex was a private landing strip, which also had a small cargo plane on it, which was already getting ready for takeoff. This is where everything got really extreme. Two jeeps were already closing in on me while I was going for an empty third one. I jumped in, quickly tied my yo-yo to the harpoon gun and started off towards the plane, which was already taxiing down the runway, going to take off obviously. I was being fired at from two jeeps at once, trying to catch the plane as well in my own jeep. In the end, I managed to fire the harpoon gun into one of the wheel wells of the plane, and managed to kind of reel myself in with the yo-yo, and climbed into the plane. Below me, I could see that the two jeeps had collided, and they were just there like little specks of flames from the distance, burning on the runway. There was only one person on the plane, the pilot, who turned out to be the second assistant from before. It was pretty easy to persuade him to turn towards London with a gun I stole from earlier. Over London, I put on a parachute I found, jumped out of the plane, and the rest you know. What went on in your mind while descending towards the museum? I just looked at London from my bird's eye point of view and tried to figure out how to get into the museum. After some calculation and hearing the clock strike 12 at about 100 meters, I figured the best option would be to crash through the glass roof, and obviously that was what I did in the end. For a final question, do you have a favorite spy, or do you consider yourself to be similar to fictional characters like Ethan Hunt from Mission Impossible or James Bond? I don't think I have a favorite spy. I was never really interested in those movies, you know. Now that I think about it, I maybe actually look up to Ian. Did his work extremely well, probably enjoyed what he was doing, and didn't let it have an effect on my and Jack's life, which I really appreciate. As for me being a spy, absolutely not. Not a chance. I'm just an ordinary schoolboy. I still want to be a footballer one day, hopefully, so there's that. Well, thank you so much, Alex, for being here with us today. My pleasure. As always, I'm Matthew. This was Top Secret. We wish everybody a very nice day, and thank you so much for watching.